Hello and welcome to the Root of All Stuff. Joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Josh Lutz. Say hello to everyone, Josh.
Hello, world.
And as always, I'm your host, Kevin McDuffie. We are joining you today for our second episode. And on our first episode, which was the last episode, we had a good interview with my brother and sister-in-law, Andrew and Crystal King. And because of the COVID-19 and them being essential workers, we went over what it was like for them and what it's probably like for many people out there right now who are basically working through all of this for all of us, and we highly appreciate that. But Josh, did you get a chance to recap on that episode?
I did.
All right, good. Where were you?
I was not here.
That's all right. We'll forgive you this time.
I appreciate it.
So today I want to recap on that just a little bit before we move on to our next topics. The COVID-19 information I got as of yesterday. Now this was 6:51, so things have more than likely changed since then, but this is the latest I have because I'm lazy and I didn't look today. Sorry, guys. So in North Carolina at 6:51 a.m. yesterday, according to NCDHHS, there were 7,761 cases of coronavirus in North Carolina. Catawba County, we had 47 cases. The CDC, as of April 22nd, the day before yesterday, because, sorry, again, I know it's a little dated, but I'm, human, the U.S. was at 828,441 cases and 46,379 deaths, which is awful. But well contained as far as it could be way worse.
Very much so.
Yeah. So also, according to the World Health Administration, or World Health Organization, sorry about that, if I can speak today, it was 2,549,632 cases as of the 22nd, 213 countries infected, and 175,825 deaths. That sucks. So I know there's a lot of talk right now about reopening things, and people are talking about this rebound, and I don't understand this rebound thing. I'm sorry, guys. It's not a rebound if the numbers never went down. If you look at the chart, the numbers have only gone up.
Yeah, there's no leveling off.
No, we didn't plateau at any point. You can go to the CDC website and look at their data chart, and it just go from January to now, and it's just a giant spike on the right-hand side that has never flattened out or went down at all. So it's not a rebound. It's very worrisome that, people are trying to open up like this when you're not going to see a rebound. You're going to see a giant spike in cases if this doesn't go well. So hopefully our, political leaders will keep that in mind when making their decisions. Not saying they will. Matter of fact, don't have the greatest of confidence in some of them, but hey, we ain't got nobody to blame for that but us. We elect these people. Well, I mean, some of us anyway. So
the thing about it is, I can understand where people are wanting to get back to work. They're wanting to keep things going the way that they were going before this.
Yes.
The only issues that I have with this is that this is something we've never seen before.
Right. Last time, like I was telling them on the last episode, the last pandemic we've seen of this scale was the Spanish flu of 1918. And I wasn't alive then. Neither were my grandparents even, so
Yeah.
this is an unprecedented time and an unprecedented virus.
It
So
is, and it's not going to go away. It's
no,
not.
it's going to be around for long times. This is just a temporary thing people understand, and I understand the anxiety of it. People are getting anxious. They're sitting at home, but really, guys, it hasn't been as long as you think it has. I mean, let's think about it. A couple months. And I don't know about everyone else. This is opinion piece. So, but I know when I'm at work, whenever I'm working with you as well, Josh. Where does everybody always talk about? Where is the one place you hear everybody at work say they want to go?
Home.
Right. So
now that they're home, why are they complaining?
they're now. I understand they are complaining because that means no paychecks for some of us.
That's true.
And that's a bummer, and I get that, and I empathize with that. And believe me, before this week, I was one of those who was waiting on unemployment to kick in and getting a little nervous myself. So I understand that anxiety, and I understand the anxiety of not being able to just go out and do what you want and do normal things. But at the same time, hey guys, we're at home. Now, I'm not saying there are some very extroverted people that like to, be out in the world and do things. And I get that because I'm a little like that and I'm a little introvert. I'm somewhere in between.
Right. I have 3 or 4 places I like to go, but other than that, I'm good where I'm at.
Right. And even if you are extroverted and, you're upset right now, just remember, I know it sucks for you and that it's not the most comforting of times because you're stuck at home, but by doing that, you are keeping everyone else safe, including yourself.
Exactly.
So, but today I wanted to get into something a little different. Today I wanted to talk about, just because whenever you're having a conversation with someone, you ever, I don't know, like you and I have a conversation and one of us just says something that doesn't really either make sense or it seems a little off. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's not just me and you. Everyone has that. So there is a study on that, and there has been since, of course, the ancient Greeks, called philosophy. So philosophy is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially considered as an academic discipline, which I consider it to be because I consider myself an academic. So, no, I'm not sure that everyone out there would agree with that. I'm sorry, but Josh.
You are a learned scholar, my friend.
Wow, you're sweet and fallacious. Anyway, so with that being said, whenever we're studying philosophy and things like that, a topic that comes up is fallacies and reasoning and thinking. Now, a fallacy is a mistaken belief, especially one based on unsound argument. Okay, it's also a failure in reasoning, which renders an argument invalid. It is faulty reasoning, misleading or unsound arguments. So, some examples of that would be ad hominem fallacy. Ad hominem fallacy is attacking the character or circumstances of an individual who is advancing a statement or an argument instead of seeking to disprove the truth of the statement or the soundness of the argument. Do you follow that? So it's like make a statement, just make a claim, anything.
The earth is round.
Well, you you can't know that, you're stupid. That's ad hominem. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't. So, and that's unfortunately something that you do run into sometimes, as well as straw man. Straw man is a form of argument and an informal fallacy based on giving the impression of refuting an opponent's argument uh, while actually refuting an argument that was not even presented or argued in the first place, or the claim wasn't even made. It's kind of like, yeah, give me another claim, Josh.
The sun is a star.
Well, the moon is in space as well. Straw man. You see, I'm just asserting shit that has nothing to do with the argument he made.
Yeah.
And that's something you run into a lot as well. There's also one that you and I have discussed before because we run into it quite frequently, and I call it an argument from ignorance or an argument from incredulity. It's also known as the appeal to ignorance. This fallacy occurs when you argue that your conclusion must be true because there is no evidence against it. This fallacy wrongly shifts the burden of proof away from the one making the claim. Okay, it asserts that a proposition is true because it has not yet been proven false, or that a proposition is false because it has not yet been proven true. You understand? So it's like, hey, Josh, fairies exist. And you would say, well, you can't say that there isn't because there's no evidence that they don't exist, so they must exist.
There's no evidence that they exist.
Right, that's an argument from ignorance, you see. So, or an argument from incredulity for those who don't like the word ignorance. Now, when I say ignorance, I must be clear about this because I have rubbed some people the wrong way. When I use the word ignorant, I do not mean stupid. There is a very big difference in those terms for me when I use them and how I define them. So I would define ignorant as simply not knowing, or the lack of knowledge of. That is ignorance. I am ignorant about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And I'm willing to admit that. However, that doesn't mean I'm not trying to learn about them, or that I'm not open to listening and learning about them from someone else or anything like that. Now, stupidity, in my opinion, is very different. Stupidity is thinking you have some form of pre-knowledge, or thinking you know something that you don't, and talking out the side of your neck and throwing it out there. And Josh can tell you, we run into that every now and again.
Yes, we do.
So,
exercising patience.
Oh, yes. And, we've all been stupid from time to time, though, people. We're humans. We make mistakes. It happens. But we should all strive to be better, I think. That's my opinion.
I agree.
So, another type of fallacy is a false dilemma, or sometimes called a false dichotomy. And what that is, got my handy dandy notebook here. A false dichotomy is a type of informal fallacy in which a statement falsely claims an either-or situation, when in fact there is at least one additional logical valid option. So I'll give you an example of this. America, love it or leave it, as if that's the only two options. Okay?
Right.
Of course, that's not the only two options. It could be, well, I would love it if this, and here's how we can get to this, and that's a logical point. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So the start of that is just a false dichotomy to start with. Also, there is slippery slope fallacy. Slippery slope fallacy is a fallacy in which a party asserts that a relatively small first step leads to a chain of related events accumulating in some significantly, usually negative effect. So a slippery slope argument would be something like, well, Josh, if you eat vegetables, you're going to die because vegetables are bad for you.
How so?
Oh, well, you see, that's what happened to the dinosaurs. They all ate plants, and then they kept eating plants, and then they died, and then that could mean that we're all going to die, and then the whole Earth's going to end, and then the universe is going to blow up because of plants. You see, that's slippery slope.
That escalated quickly,
and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So there are skills that people should learn and should be open to learning to avoid these types of logical fallacies. These skills are called critical thinking skills. Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. All right, so another thing that critical thinking leads us to, and philosophy has evolved into, is science. Science is beautiful, in my opinion. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural universe through observation and experiment. Now, what does that mean? Why is science good? Well, because we have developed the scientific method, which is a method of procedure that has characterized natural science since the 17th century, consisting in systematic observation, measurement, and experiment, and the formulation, testing, and modification of hypotheses. So basically, what I'm telling you is science is the single greatest tool that mankind has ever conceived of to discern what is true and what isn't. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who tend to ignore science in society these days, and that's unfortunate. So, kind of like when we're talking about a rebound, there's a fallacy in and of itself. There's no rebound if it's never went down.
Exactly. There's no second wave if the first wave hasn't stopped.
Right. So it's troubling to me when people I understand they're not necessarily trying to have a good faith debate or making a statement. They just want to talk. They just want to hear their head roar sometimes. We all do. I'm not bashing on those people. We all want to be in touch with someone. We all want to be able to have a conversation and connect with a person. So it's understandable sometimes, but I've found the more we use these tools, philosophy, science, the more of an educated conversation you can have, better quality conversations you can have, and you don't have all this fallacy and things that just seem insane and have no bearing on reality whatsoever. And why should we care about reality? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we all live in the same reality. We all have to share this reality that we all live in. Anything beyond that has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? You can believe whatever you want. I'm not telling anyone what to believe, because there is definitely a difference in beliefs and facts. And everyone's entitled to their own beliefs. No one is entitled to their own facts. Fact's a fact, Jack.
Agreed.
So Now, I'm going to rub some people the wrong way here,
Oh, no.
and I'm sure I'll hear about it at some point. And like I say, hey, this show is open to any topic. We're open to debate. We're open to, we're not closed minded here. We are open minded yet skeptical. So when I hear someone tell me something about supernatural things like ghosts, I'm skeptical. I'm open minded to it, but I'm skeptical. People, meaning, do I believe it? No. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe they saw a ghost, whatever. That's fine. Do I believe that they believe they saw a ghost? Yes. Do I think they are lying to me? No. No, I believe that they believe that. Does that make sense, Josh?
It does.
So just because someone isn't convinced because you tell them something, you got to remember you're the one who made the claim. And when you make a claim about something in reality, the burden of proof lies with you to prove that claim. So, like, I'll give you an example. Josh, what was your claim earlier? What was it you had? What was it you made a claim about?
Uh, the earth is round.
Okay, okay. So, and there's another thing. We have a lot of flat earthers out there. All right, guys, I'm not a flat earther. Sorry. If you are,
Or,
if you are, cool. Prove it. Prove it. You're making the claim that the earth is flat. Okay? Provide me with some evidence, and I'm way more likely to open my mind to it. However, the astounding lack of evidence for a flat earth and the overwhelming amount of evidence for the earth being round is overwhelming. That's why I believe the earth's round. Not only that, I mean, let's look at it, people. GMM over R squared. What does the R stand for? A radius. You don't get a radius unless you have, what is it, Josh?
a circle.
Imagine that. So this whole, it would be a very strange thing. I don't even know how gravity would work on a flat earth. But again, we're open to talk to flat earthers. If you're out there listening, we'll have that chat. Um, or with anything. Like I say, I don't want people to worry that we're just gonna, bash them down if they come on our show. I won't. I promise you. I'm not out to make you feel stupid. I'm not out to make anyone think, any negative thoughts about you. I am merely trying to teach you critical thinking skills and make you a better citizen of the reality that we all must share. So that's my goal. Now, a lot of people get a little antsy now, and I may get argumentative. It just depends on, I'm human too. I make mistakes. So if you come at me with a negative attitude, I will try my best not to give that back, but I'm human. My fuse is only so long. If you burn it out, Josh knows it just gets burnt out, and that'll be it. So I will
Yep.
come back. Now I'm not looking to get into any kind of ridiculous arguments about anything like personal. I'm talking about things that we all will benefit from if we can just learn to accept reality. What do you think about that, Josh?
I agree. I agree. I think the world would be a better place if we all could.
Yeah. And not only that, it would also help people do exactly what we're trying to do here on the show as a whole, and that's to get to the root of all stuff. Where does it come from? What is it? How does this work? How does that work? What is that? How is that? How does that work? Yeah, things like this. That's what we're doing. We're getting to the root of all stuff. So
Exactly. You
So
can
if
never learn if you don't ask.
indeed. Now, we are open to any questions, by the way. Feel free to email us at the root of all stuff, that's one word, at gmail.com, or to contact us on our Facebook page. We will try to respond to you if we don't respond directly on the show. We'll do the best we can, but please feel free to contact us and ask any questions, because Josh, how have you learned literally everything you know? How did you begin that?
I asked a question.
That's right. I mean, if you ask no questions, you'll get no answers. Now, that there is this thing of, and it's true, and it's troubling to me. Here's something that is truly troubling to me. The statement "ignorance is bliss" is true in some cases. Now, occasionally, that's disturbing to me because I uh I sometimes just wish I were really, really ignorant and just didn't know anything, because then I couldn't be so upset with the way things are, because I wouldn't even understand. If you don't know there's a problem, you can't even be upset about the problem because you don't know there is a problem to start with. So
I agree with that 100%.
so it's hard for me sometimes because I try to be the best, human I can be, and the best person I can be, and learn as much as I can, and without fallacy, without false data, with I mean, and there's a lot of that goes on too. There is misinformation, disinformation, and there's people who are generally uninformed, and that's okay. There's a lot of that I receive there, and we all do. And there is a lot of there's a lot of things that I am completely uninformed about, I'm sure, as we all have things that we are uninformed about and are ignorant of. So that's not a bash on anyone, because I'm a human. I share those traits. Um, However, we should do the best we can, in my opinion, to learn and share reality that we all have to share. Because if you're doing something or you're making claims that have no bearing on reality, or they don't necessarily fit in reality, or you're making fallacious claims, you're using fallacies, you're not doing anyone any favors. Now, am I guilty of that? Sure. Everyone has made a fallacious argument. It is hard not to do. Making a fallacy free argument sometimes seems seemingly impossible. However, because we are human, and that's just the way our mind works, we are not necessarily the best at predicting things, for one, uh, describing or judging ourselves, even things like that. It's just the human nature. It's the way our brains are configured. However, that's not saying that people are stupid, because as far as I know, I don't know many other species on this planet that can, do calculus and make rockets and go into space and things of that nature. But Josh, give me something from someone you've talked to recently that's used a fallacious argument. Give me an example.
I love the term, that's just how it is.
Yeah, and all right, so my pet peeve, or I have many of them. Sorry, one of my biggest pet peeves is people using the term "it is what it is." Now, in and of itself, nothing wrong with that statement. Nothing wrong with that statement. Uh, However, it's the way people use it that really just, I mean, it gets me riled up. It's a real bad pet peeve, and maybe I have a problem with it. I don't know. So, of course, if used in the correct context, I don't necessarily have a problem if you use it in the correct context. But so often I hear people that are just talking out the side of their neck, talking a bunch of nonsense, and then they want to say it is what it is. Now, of course it is what it is. It cannot be what it isn't. Now, can it? That is
Exactly.
that is my argument to that. It's so annoying. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. You said, what was yours? What was your?
It's just if you're in a discussion
Mhm.
and you're trying to get through to somebody, and they throw that out, that just automatically tells me that you have no other course of action other than to resort to that fallacy.
Right.
It just means you have no ammunition for your reasoning.
Right. And that happens a lot. I mean, you got examples out the wazoo with people. I mean, just go out and have a conversation. I'm sure you run into it on a daily basis. Everyone does. However, very rarely do people, and I have had a past with this where you just don't go home and you don't go. You're always worried about everybody else. You're always worried about, well, so and so said something that sounded crazy, but then you don't. People tend not to question themselves, though. If you don't start a debate with an open mind, meaning if you don't start a debate with at least the conception that you could be wrong, then you are not on the right track to start with, because anyone who claims to know everything is a nutcase. Stay away from that person. I mean, that's my opinion, but I mean, really, I've talked to some people who seem to think they know it all. A lot of people seem to think that I think that I know it all. However, that's not the case. As I have stated before, I'm completely ignorant on a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, some things that I think I'm right on, I'm also open to the fact that I could be completely wrong and could know absolutely nothing about it. But I am willing to learn, as we all should be, because that's how you get to the most correct answers. And in reality, that's what should matter and does matter.
Exactly.
So, to give people an overview of conversations that annoy us, and there's not many. Like I say, we're pretty sociable people. We talk to about everyone that we can, and as long as people are respectful, we'll be respectful back. We're not out, looking to make anybody feel dumb or embarrassed or anything of that nature. We will respect you just as long as you respect us. And I don't think that's really too much to ask for. However, if we disagree, that doesn't mean we hate you. And that's another tidbit that tends to happen with me and Josh. Have ran into this a lot, let's say. So, Josh, can you give people an example of we were when a time we were speaking to someone or in a group, and someone wanted to get angry, and we couldn't really understand why. I'll give you an example, like, of what I'm talking about before you give this example. Where you and I have a set opinion on something that we already know we agree on. Now, someone else comes along who disagrees with our opinion, okay? And then they get angry. How does that go? Give me an example of that, if you can.
Well, I mean, let's take, for example, let's say, for an example, that we were speaking to, let's go with an amateur astronomer, per se.
Okay.
We're both of the agreement that the sun is a star.
Yes.
Well, he may present an argument that it's not.
Okay.
And when we attempt to enter into debate with him, not out of disrespect or anything, we're just, we're always open.
Right.
He feels like his beliefs and his hypothesis is being attacked.
Right. Well,
and it is human nature to defend your beliefs.
Right. And but
Whether
see,
or not they're facts or not,
right. And see, that's
that
the
is
point.
the human way.
Right. Just because we don't immediately agree with your view does not mean we hate you. And that seems to be a ongoing problem in society that I've noticed, that I've observed. Um, is some people sometimes can't even have a conversation due to the fact that they disagree on something really, just that's not of paramount concern to anyone. Sometimes it's just
It could be
tedious,
something
frivolous little
minuscule.
things. I'm sorry, do what?
It could be something minuscule.
Right. It's usually, that's what I'm saying. Usually it is. It's something that will not matter in an hour from now, much less the next day. But then sometimes it does matter. Sometimes it is big things that do affect all of us. And in those chances, you should try to learn all you can. Now, if you get offended because someone asks you a question in good faith anyway, then you're probably not going to want to have a conversation with me or Josh, or Josh and I, however the grammar works there. Sorry, I'm not very good with English, much more of a science major. Anyway, so there, I'm ignorant of a lot of grammar. Bingo. Um, but if you are open-minded, or if you're, willing to keep an open mind and be skeptical, but again, open to changing your mind, then sure, contact us, please. We would love to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, do what?
Absolutely.
Yes. Here's the problem that people tend to run into, though. They have this set belief in their head, and they think just because they believe it, it is a fact. That is not the case. Now, even a strong belief, that doesn't mean it's a fact. Now, I'm not saying it's not true either. Some people may be getting a little offended, going, well, this guy's just, making fun of my beliefs. No, I'm not. I'm telling you that you are fully entitled to that belief, and I would never do anything to take that belief away from you. However, you are not entitled to your own facts. Facts are a reality that we all must live by. That is all I'm getting at. I'm not. If you come into an argument or a debate, with a sense of, basically, let me put it to you a different way. If I asked you at the beginning of a debate, let's say you made a claim, okay?
Mhm.
All right, we'll give an example of this since we have Josh here. Josh, make a claim, any claim, just make a claim.
Let's see. You will drown if you breathe water.
Okay. What would it take to change your mind?
You would have to present empirical evidence that you
Okay.
can.
Okay. So, but you are open to changing your mind.
Yeah,
See,
I'm open to changing my mind.
that's what we're getting at. If you're willing to do that, sure, we can have a conversation. If you already have the mindset, nope, that's my mind's made up. Your mind's like a steel trap. You're closed minded. Your mind's made up. I'm not going to change my mind for anything. That's what I believe, and that's that. Then we're not going to get anywhere with you. I'm sorry. Um, and it's not a loss for us necessarily. It's more of a loss for yourself, because you should question everything. You should question everything, because you never know. You might be wrong. And thinking otherwise, thinking that you know it all, is my definition of stupidity. Now, that people may disagree with that, and I'm not. It may sound harsh, and I'm sorry if it does for our listeners. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to upset or offend anyone. I may hold a lot of beliefs that aren't true. I'm sure I do. I know I do. I don't know what they are, obviously, because I believe they're true. But at the same time, my mind is not shut. My mind is open. What would it take to change my mind? In most cases, really not a lot, just a little evidence. And when we talk about evidence, as Josh stated, that's what I'm looking for anyway, is empirical evidence, not anecdotal evidence. And please give those a Google if you don't understand the difference. But other than that, Josh, how are things going with you, my friend?
Things are going well. Not sick.
Right. Now, I won't bring up this person's name for privacy reasons for you. But there is an individual who we discuss often that is related to you, that you have told me has made some fallacious arguments in the past.
Yes.
Can you present me with just and now we're not going to tell anyone who this person is because it's no one's business. However, I do want to get into this just a little bit so we can kind of drive our point home and people can listen to you more and less of me rambling. But can you give me an example of an argument that you guys have had where there was mass fallacy involved?
I'll give you a new argument from a new project of mine.
All right.
This person will not be named, but
Okay.
it's diabetic. Has type 2.
I'm sorry. Did you say he was diabetic?
Yeah, has
Okay.
type 2.
Okay.
And it is his belief that if he just ignores the problem, it'll go away.
And that is a common misconception.
That is his argument to any kind of attempt to get him to take medication, to any kind of attempt to get him to eat the correct things, to drink the correct things. Oh, it'll be okay. I'll be all right. I might get a little sleepy, but it'll all be okay.
Right. It's kind of that mindset of, it'll all just work itself out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it may. All right, I'll give you that. It may, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out for you. Okay? Yeah. Okay, I'm pretty sure all of your medical illnesses and woes won't matter once you're dead. But,
exactly.
But if you're dead, you're dead. Do you see what I'm saying? Like there is, you have a life right now that I hope that you have some respect for and enjoy living. And if not, then I hope the events change for you drastically and for the positive, and that, things go better for you. I mean, everybody has downtimes, but at the same time, if you care about your life, you should do everything you can to maintain your life,
exactly.
Including, I don't know, listening to people who are literally trained and educated in how to help you sustain your life, medical professionals, things of that nature.
It is my goal with the life that I'm given to leave the world a better place than I found it.
And
if I can convince someone else to do the same thing, that person could be a Nobel Prize winner. That person could be president.
Not this one. Not sorry.
For better or worse, it will be a change, and there will be effort made there.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've had many, many conversations where I've talked to this individual, and he is beginning to take a look at what he does. And he's beginning to see that it's hurting everybody around him as well as himself.
Mm-hmm.
The problem will never make it go away, especially a problem like diabetes.
Yeah, and that's definitely a hard thing to deal with. Luckily, I've never had to deal with any medical issue quite like that. But for anybody who knows me, as Josh does, I'm a fat guy. I love eating food. It is like the greatest thing, other than one other thing that I think you could think what that is. To me, generally, just saying, food is awesome stuff. I love to eat. And if I ever had a medical condition to where I couldn't eat a whole lot of things that I really couldn't eat, whether it be an allergy or diabetes or anything of that nature. It would be crushing to me, and I understand that it is for a lot of people, and I empathize with you. I hate that for you. That sucks so bad. Like, for example, my mom is allergic to certain nuts and fish. Now, not just shellfish. I think it's all fish. Something to do. I think she's allergic to the iodine in fish. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty sure that's what she's described it to me as. I haven't looked at her medical records. This is, just going off hearsay of what she said, which is fallacious. See, even I do it. So, but the best anecdotal evidence I have right now, and empirical evidence I have as far as her being allergic to some things, because I've seen her get stung by a bee, and she has the EpiPen. I've seen that reaction. So, and not only that, I don't recommend you do this, and if you do, we are going to have trouble. But yes, you could take a bee and put it against my mom and sting her with it, and she would swell up, and you could prove that to yourself with empirical evidence. Don't do it. My mom's a sweet lady. So, but again, back to the point at hand. She can't eat fish. Now, she kind of developed that allergy at a more advanced age, like when she was a kid. So she had eaten fish up to a point to where the iodine started bothering her, or they recognized that's what it was. And she loved seafood until that point, and now she can't eat it anymore, and that sucks. So I empathize with people who have these conditions, but at the same time, you know what she don't do? Do you know what she doesn't do? Rather, she don't. You're right. She doesn't eat seafood because she knows it could kill her. And I'm fairly sure she enjoys her life, even though she has to deal with a son like me. So, I mean, it's hard, man, but you got to do what you got to do to live. Now, if that's not a goal of yours, I'm sorry, and I hope it becomes one, because if no, and by the way, if no one's told you this is to our listeners out there, if no one's told you this lately or ever, or even if you just need it right now, your life is important to us.
Yes, it is.
So we care, even though we may have never met. I care about you because I share that goal of, I want to leave the world a better place than I found it, and I want to make the world better for all of us. Now, in my opinion, and as a matter of observation, that a matter of fact that anyone can just observe for themselves, science seems to be one of the greatest paths toward making the world better for everyone. So, as well as philosophy and engineering and everything else. I mean, think about it. If we didn't have science, we wouldn't have clothes. We wouldn't be on this podcast. We wouldn't be able to talk to you through, the magic of internet, which is not magic. It's what, Josh?
Science.
Bingo. So, it's definitely one of the greater benefits to the world. And I'm not asking everyone to go out and become, a PhD doctorate scientist. No, I'm asking everyone to be scientifically literate, at least look into it to try and understand it. And a lot of people have a misconception on what a scientist actually is. Now, one of my childhood heroes, who has a podcast that you should all check out, which is awesome, was Mr. Bill Nye. I'm sure Josh remembers Bill Nye.
Oh, yes, very well.
Now, Bill Nye, we watched him in school when I was growing up, of course, in the 90s. And awesome fella, man. He does great work. A lot of people have given him a hard time in the past about he's not a real scientist because he doesn't have a PhD. The PhD doesn't make you a scientist, folks. He has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. Actually, it's called a BSME. Guess what the S stands for? Science. A bachelor's in science in mechanical engineering. And mechanical engineering has to do with applying physics science to make things, to make machines and things that work that we all use. So even you yourself, if you are using the scientific method, if you are forming a hypothesis, if you are conducting or making a prediction on that hypothesis, experimenting and weighing the results, and then continuing to experiment and following this scientific method, and someone else tries your experiment and they get the same results, hey, after so long of doing that, you have a working theory. And a theory is not a hypothesis. If you don't understand the difference, a hypothesis is something you just thought up. A theory, in terms of science, which is how I tend to use it, is something that has facts backing it up, such as the theory of gravity. Now, Josh, you see this pen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if I let go of this pen, I know this sounds silly and ridiculous. No, but bear with me. If I drop this pen, what's it going to do?
It's going to drop.
If I let go of the pen, right, it'll drop. If I let go of the pen, there it went. For those that didn't see that, it dropped again. So why did it drop? Gravity. Well, you can conduct your own experiments. Be safe, because another thing you can check out is the rate of which things fall here, and it's 9.8 meters per second. So if you drop yourself from a very high place, it could hurt when you hit the bottom, because you fall pretty quickly. Anyway, so be careful out there with gravity, folks. But the point is, it is a working theory. So everyone, if you're using that, you are a scientist. So, be a little more polite, I guess, to poor old Bill Nye. He is quite the scientist, and a heck of a lot smarter than I am. And, I can't say smarter than anyone else, because I don't know that, but pretty sure he's smarter than me. I don't, he's taught me a lot throughout the years, and I wouldn't want to debate the man. That's for sure. But not just him. I have many childhood heroes, by the way, but Bill Nye is definitely on the top 10 list. And for those who hadn't checked out his podcast, Science Rules, give it a whirl. But back to our conversation. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. I tend to do that, but that's part of what this show is about. And we warned you of that at the outset. We can go in any direction with this. Josh, when you were talking to that person with diabetes, and they were saying basically, it'll all work itself out. What did you say to that individual? What did you what was your retort, I guess?
My retort is no, that it won't. That ignoring the problem will not make it go away. You've got to do what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, things will just get worse.
Yeah. And
it's not going to get any better, but it can be bearable.
True. I mean, if you have a problem such as, especially a life-threatening one, as it sounds like this one is, like let's take for example a different problem, one of similar circumstance. If you don't take this medicine that the doctor has given you, he has told you that it is threatening to your life, and you have the potential to lose your life if you don't take this medicine, or to do a certain thing, or do a certain activity, not just take a medicine, but anything that the medical professional is trying to save your life with. If you don't do that, if you think you're going to know better than him, then that's fine. Go out and conduct your own experiment and, collect the data and, and learn what you can about biology and prove that doctor wrong. Until then, do what that doctor tells you. He's trying to save your life. It's troubling to me when people think they know better than the professional who's literally spent a huge chunk of their life studying that specific thing. And it's not that they're all knowing or that they have ever even claimed that they know it all. They never made that claim to start with. It's the claim that they know a lot about this particular subject, and that's the subject you're dealing with, and they're trying to help you. Just like COVID-19, when they tell you we should all stay away from each other and avoid touching your face after being out, and social distancing and stay home, that is for our benefit. A lot of conspiracy theories roaming around there is, oh, they're doing that for this reason or that reason. No, they're doing it for you, folks. They're doing it for you. Now, no, I'm not knocking conspiracy theorists. Maybe a little, maybe just a little, but that's only because I know what conspiracy theories are. Josh, you know what a conspiracy theory is?
Tell me about it.
A conspiracy theory is a shortcut to thinking. I mean, that's just what it is. Now, do I think conspiracy theories are all wrong? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you think the whole world's conspiring against you, yet you have no evidence, come back with evidence, and I am open-minded to your conspiracy. If you have no evidence, it's going to be really hard to change my mind because I'm highly skeptical of, outrageous claims. Another hero of mine, as you well know, is Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan made the statement that, well, I'm sure I'm going to garble this up. Sorry for all the huge Carl Sagan fans. I am one too. I'm sorry. But basically what he said was extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And I tend to agree with that statement. It's just, if I told you, Josh, that I saw a pink fairy fly by my window upstairs earlier, and it came by and tapped on the glass, waved, and flew away, what would be the first thought went on in your mind?
I tell you to lay off the crack. Other than that, I would ask you what evidence you had.
Well, I saw it.
I didn't.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I saw it. You don't believe me?
Prove it.
Why don't you just believe me? Why don't you just take my word for it?
Because I have to have evidence.
Oh, because that seems like an extraordinary claim, huh?
It really does.
Right. That's what I'm getting at now. All right. I don't know. Give me one. I'll show you how I'll respond to this. Josh, give me an extraordinary claim.
The moon's made out of green cheese.
Okay. What about the moon makes you think that it is made of green cheese?
Well, I read it in a book.
What book?
It was a bedtime story book.
Okay. How do you know that this book wasn't fiction? How do you know that it's actually made of cheese? Green cheese.
Well, but that's what the book said.
Right, but it could have been a fiction book, correct?
It could have been.
Okay, so that means it could not be like real, correct? It could not have bearing in reality, correct?
Exactly.
Well, see, Josh is pretty open-minded, but normally people would stick to their guns a little harder when they truly believe in something or they make an extraordinary claim, because they are usually pretty convinced of this stuff. Like, I saw a ghost, or I saw an alien, or I saw, a pink fairy fly by my window, or the earth's flat, or vaccines are bad, or, all this crazy stuff. Not crazy stuff. Excuse me, that was rude. All of these conspiracy theories, I should say, to where all you need is a little evidence. You'd change my mind. Bring me the evidence. Give us an email. We will have you on the show. We will talk about this. Our minds are open to it. We are skeptical, however, so don't get angry if we just don't immediately agree with you. Just like we won't get angry with you if you don't automatically agree with us. We will try our best not to, get angry with you. Just try your best not to get angry with us. And we can have a good faith, open conversation about what really matters. And that's the reality we all must share.
Exactly.
Well, Josh, I think we're going to wrap it up here, my man. For all of our listeners, thank you for listening to The Root of All Stuff. Josh, you want to tell our fans anything?
Like we said earlier, if you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us on Facebook, The Root of All Stuff. You can get a hold of us on Gmail, The Root of All Stuff, one word, at gmail.com. We welcome any feedback, constructive criticism, any questions you might have. There is no question that we will not answer.
Yes, thank you. And for those of you out there listening, the root of all stuff at gmail.com is probably the most effective way to get a hold of us. You can use either one, but the root of all stuff at Gmail gets checked at least twice a day. I know for sure because I am the one who checks it. Well, thank you all for listening. Josh, thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, brother. Look forward to many more.
All right. Thank you, guys. And please tune in next time for the next episode of The Root of All Stuff.